皆さんこんにちは。JetBrains 日本担当の堀岡です。JetBrains の統合開発環境ライダーが Unreal Engine 向け C++ プロジェクトをついに正式にサポートしました。このセッションではライダーをこれから使ってみたい、もしくは最近使い始めたという方向けにデベロッパーアドボケートのマットより Unreal プロジェクト向けライダーのセットアップ方法、ID の基本操作、Unreal エディターとライダーの連携機能について紹介します。それではご覧ください。
Hello everyone, thank you all for joining. My name is Matt and today we're going to be talking about Rider for Unreal Engine, and I'm going to show you how Rider can help you turn your Unreal game ideas into reality. So what is Rider? Rider is an IDE. It's for working with your code, your C++ and your Unreal projects. It's been around for a little while. It works with C# as well in your Unity and game dev, Godot game dev projects. But today we're going to concentrate on the C++ support it's got in there. Great features to help you work with your C++ projects, and lots of Unreal Engine specific inspections and features as well. So we'll dive in and we'll have a look. But before we get started, we have to tell Unreal how we can use Rider. So I've got Unreal up and running here. If I just go straight to the preferences and select the source code item in the preferences there, we now get to choose what Unreal is going to use for its source code editor. We can just click the drop down here and we get several choices of what's installed already on my computer. And you can see I've got several different versions of Rider. And if I just want to select the latest version, I can click this one which says Rider. You'll notice it says U project here, and this is because Rider can work with the Visual Studio generated code project files, or it can use the U project files directly. This is great when you're working cross-platform. So if you want to work on a Mac or Linux, you can actually open the U project files directly without having to have any Visual Studio files generated at all. You'll notice that today I'm working with Mac, but everything I'm going to show you works just the same with Windows. Okay, so that's nice and simple. We tell Unreal, for what source code editor to use, and we're good to go. If we double click on a file now, it will open up in Rider itself. So let's switch over to Rider. And this is what you get when you open Rider. You can see that we've got a project view on the left-hand side showing us our game and also the engine source files. And I think before we go any further, it's probably worth pointing out that the first time you open a project with Rider for Unreal, Rider will index all of your code. It will build an index so to make it very easy to navigate around your code, to find items, to find inspections, and find issues with your code. And so it'll run through for a minute or so and index all of your code. But one thing we do straight up there is we notice that it is an Unreal project. And so we will index your game code first and then the engine code later. So as soon as the game code is finished, we'll show a little notification. You can get on with your working with your code, and we'll index the engine in the background. Once the index has been built the first time, then it is kept up to date incrementally. So only the small changes to files will need to be re-indexed, and you won't notice this going forward. When you open a project in Rider, Rider will install a Rider link. Well, it'll prompt you to install a plugin into your game called Rider Link. This is a useful plugin now which will allow us to integrate deeply with the editor here. And I'll show you some of these useful features as we go through. But this will quickly install the plugin into your project. It'll compile it and it will be available for the next time you run the editor. So we've got our game up and loaded into Rider. What are the things we can do here and what makes it so useful? So obviously we've got our game listed in the project view here, and we can navigate around, we can click on items and open those up, and we get nice syntax highlighted files. But we can do a bit better than that. We've got an index built of the whole project, so I can use the keyboard shortcut Shift. So if I hit Shift twice, I get this search everywhere dialog. There's a lot of functionality in Rider, and there are two keyboard shortcuts you want to learn, two main keyboard shortcuts. This is the first one. If you use Shift, you can get to anywhere in your code. So you use Shift, you get this search everywhere dialog, and then you can just start typing. So if I just start typing for player, it will filter everything down by the word player. And this will search for files, it will search for classes, it will also search for symbols. So you can see here I've got my CPP and H files. Oops, I didn't actually want to navigate there. But you've also got symbols as well. So I can see the symbols here. So I've got a player field, which is being used in level sequence director.h. And also I've got symbols from an enum type there as well. And I can very quickly navigate around. And you can see the project view on the left now is automatically jumping to the files that I want. Let's close that down because we don't need that anymore. So Shift is great. I can just start typing shooter, player, controller. I don't have to type the whole word. It will find things for me. And I can just do things by initial letters as well, SPC for shooter, player, controller. I can hit tab as well, and I can go and search just for classes, or I can search just for files, and also just for symbols. There are a couple of other options here as well. I can search for actions, and this is a great way to help find your way around the IDE. So if you're new and you can't remember where something was in the menus, just use Shift and use the search for actions. So if I want to search for highlight, for example, I can move to different highlighted items, and I can even go to the preferences for the highlighting. Let's just say if I want to do a rename here, and I can't remember what the keyboard shortcut is for rename, I just type rename there, and there, go to actions, I've got the rename action. It helpfully gives me the keyboard shortcut, and if I select it, then I get the option to rename the item. A great way of trying to find the things that you're looking for. Actions, you can even see that there's options there for refactorings and everything there. I can change these actions in the code. If you want to search for text, you can also use the text tab here to find text. Okay, so lots of great navigation functionality around. Let's jump to shooter character movement.cpp. So once you are in your code, there's lots of things you can do. We've got the usual sort of features that you'd expect. I can just start typing, and I'm going to get code completion. And again, I don't have to type everything perfectly. I can use the initial letters like SCO for shooter character owner, and that will complete for me. But we do lots of nice things here as well. So if I can't remember whether I need to access my members here with a dot or with an arrow, I can just use either one and it will fix it up for me. So if I use dot, it'll give me the code completion list, but it will fix it then up to use the arrow operator instead. So of course I can look at all of the items that I've got in my completion list, so I can choose whichever thing is there, and I can just start typing and it will narrow those down and I can select. So lots of great code completion features going on there. Another thing which is really nice that Rider has for code completion, again, it's all about making you a little bit faster and a little bit more productive with your environment. As you can see, I've got a couple of include statements already in use here. But if in my code I want to use something like f instant weapon data, you can see in the completion it says that it's being declared in a different header. And if I select that now, not only will it complete the item for me, but it tells me, gives me a little pop-up saying that the shooter weapon instant.h file has been included for me. So it's very smart. Because we built this index of your entire project and the entire game engine, we can use that to suggest types which aren't even included in the file yet and automatically include them for you. So the other useful keyboard shortcut that we have to show is Alt-Enter. And you can notice now that there are some underlines going on here, which showing you that there are some inspections and that Rider has found something that can be modified for you, and it's giving you an indication that there's something you can do here. And if we hover over this indicator here, this highlight, we get to see that the variable can be moved to an if statement, and I can use Alt and Enter. This is my second keyboard shortcut. So Shift can navigate me to anywhere. Alt-Enter is about doing things when you get there. And Alt-Enter can fix up these inspections for me, and it can do things like move the variable to an if statement. And Rider can then very quickly rewrite that code and fix it up so that your code is working a lot nicer. And we've got thousands of these inspections. They will look for all different sorts of things to do with your C++ code. Look for potential null references or errors or mistakes that are going on there, and also things like syntax errors and style issues as well. So another thing you can do with the Alt-Enter menu is that there's another way. If you use it just anywhere, even when there isn't a highlight, then you get a couple of options: navigate to, refactor this, inspect, and generate code. And all of these allow you to do very useful things. So for example, I can refactor, and here I can inline a variable or rename. So if I wanted to very quickly rename a variable, you can see that it's now updated the variable everywhere it's being used in this file there. So that's a very quick and safe way of using it. If I had shooter character owner used somewhere else in this file, which didn't relate to this symbol, then it would not be changed. So this is more accurate than a simple find and replace with text. Other items that we've got here are things like navigate to. And Rider has a load of useful navigations to allow you to go and find where your code is being used, where it's defined, where it's declared, and all sorts of things. So for example, from here, let's go down here to this one. If I go to Alt-Enter and navigate to, the first item is declaration, and that will take me back up to where this variable is being defined. And I can also do a similar sort of thing with Control-Click, and that will navigate me to the item as well. I can do that on members, so I can navigate to the is running or to the get running speed modifier, and I can very quickly navigate around and find items. Another thing that's useful in my navigate to menu is this find usages, and this will show me everywhere that this symbol is being used across the project. This is a local variable, so it's only being used in this file, but you can see I can click through and I can see where it's being used. If I do the same on the class itself, I can go to navigate to and do find usages, and it will show me that then across the whole file. We can see it's being used in the CPP file here, and we can see actually the types of items as well. There's the types of usage, sorry. We can see we've got nested symbol definitions there, new instant creation, and I'm going to come back to this one, and then template arguments as well. You can see, so you can see how it's being used as well as where it's being used. Other really cool integration points we've got with Unreal is around blueprints as well. So blueprints are a very important part of your Unreal Engine project, but we often find that the data in those blueprints is hidden away. So you have to have Unreal Engine running to be able to see what the values are in the editor, and yet you've got your code in your IDE, and there's no relation between the two. So you've got things that are very different. Rider indexes not just the code of your project, but also the blueprints as well. So we get to see where your code is being used inside blueprints, and also what values are being used as part of those blueprints. So if I just go to a class, a shooter pickup, now you'll notice that so we've got the uClass macro here, so we're defining that it's going to be a blueprint class, but we can notice that we've got this link drawn on the editor surface here telling us that we've got 3 derived blueprint classes. And if I click this, we actually get to see what those classes are. We can see we've got pickup ammo launcher, pickup ammo gun, and pickup health. These are all blueprint implemented classes. So they're not C++ classes, which are derived from this class, but they're all blueprint defined. And if I click on this, because we've got the integration with Unreal, I just have to swap back. Because we've got the integration with Unreal from that Rider Link project plugin that I mentioned at the start, then Rider can tell the Unity editor to open the blueprint editor for this particular blueprint. So we've got the pickup ammo launcher here, and we can see now that the parent class is shooter pickup ammo that we've already got open. And if I jump back here and I click on my item again, I could go to the pickup health item, and if we go here, then we can see that Unreal has opened the pickup health editor for me as well. If we go down a little bit further, we've got some fields and some properties which are being used by blueprints as well. So for example, we've got respawn time down here, which is a property, and you can see we've got another link written here, we can see that it's being used in assets and in blueprints. And if we click it, we actually get to see what the values are. And we get to see that the value are being set in two different blueprints here. The part of ammo launcher.u asset and pickup ammo gun.u asset. And we can actually see what the values are as well. We can see that it's being set to 20 in ammo launcher and it's being set to 5 in ammo gun. So this is brilliant. This is a really cool way of seeing not just where your code is being used, but how your code is being used inside blueprints. So it's joining up the code that you've got in your project with the data that is stored inside the Unreal Engine project. And so I know now that this respawn time is expected to be between 5 and 20 there, and I can use that in my code, and I can say, well, okay, I'm not going to have a longer respawn time, I'm going to have a shorter respawn time. I can see what values are to be useful there. I can do similar sort of things. We're looking at the sound cues there, and I can see what values are being used, which is useful. The particle system is not being changed in any assets in that one. But if I click this one, I get to see the different particle systems that are being used in my in my blueprints. So it's a great way of bringing that data into Rider, and again making you stopping you having to go into the Unreal editor to be able to see this information. You can find it straight away on the within the Rider IDE. Other useful things which we've got, which integrate nicely with Blueprint, with Unreal, is if I click down here, I've got an Unreal tool window, and this is an editor log, which is nice. I've got all the log values that are in my editor. So if I just go over here and I go to my output log, we can see I've got lots of useful information being shown in the log here as I'm working. This is being replicated and shown in the Rider tool window as well. And we've got some syntax highlighting for different values. So if it's a warning, we highlight that for you. And if it's got a name on there, we can click on it and open up the file. And we've got the same thing with method names and function names and classes. So if I click on this request level, we can see that it's opened up in the editor then. So it's very good. It's a great way then of using the information that's being shown in the Unreal editor, but using that in the IDE where I can get to the code that is useful. And of course, I can filter things down. I can hide my messages. I can hide my warnings and only show errors. Make sure I can see my messages. I can also filter down by different categories as well. So there's a lot of useful information that is being shown in the log that I can actually use as part of my IDE. And the other useful features we've got are in the play controls up at the top here. So you can see we've got a button here for play, and I can flick into play mode. If I click that and swap back to my editor, then we can see I'm now in play mode, and I can also jump back, put it into pause mode, or come out of play mode again as well. Got another drop down here where we can look at the number of players. So if I want to change my play mode settings, I can do that. All the different spawn options and so on, running the dedicated server and all that kind of useful information. If I want to build a project, I've got a button there to build, and I've got a drop down here as well then to show me my different configurations and targets and so on. If I want to, I can bring that up onto the toolbar as well, or I can collapse it down to be a little bit neater. And up at the top right here, then we've got an indicator to show us that I'm running the shooter game already, and we can see that it's currently running, and I can hit the button then to stop the editor as well. So this will now close the editor for me so that we can have a look at debugging. So I was running the game there, and I could just click the run button again to start running, or I can click the debug button then to start debugging. This will now, obviously I've made some changes to the code, so it's going to have to just quickly recompile, and it will make sure everything's up to date, and recompile and relaunch the editor in debug mode. Okay, so while that is just rebuilding and loading up, let's jump to a shooter pickup. We'll put a breakpoint in place. A shooter pickup is shooter pickup. There we go. So if we go to shooter pickup.cpp and I go to, what's the method? onStartFire. There it is. Oh, no, it's taking me to the header file. So again, I can just click the useful navigate button to jump me to the other one. And if I click in the gutter icon there, I can put us into, I can add a breakpoint, and we should be ready to hit a breakpoint as soon as the build completes, which is taking a minute. Okay, and now we are in the editor as before, and we can now click to go into play mode. There we go. Let's launch the game in play mode, and I've got a breakpoint then in on start fire. And so if I click the mouse button to fire the weapon there, we immediately hit the breakpoint, and we are now in the debugger. We're back in the editor. I can navigate up and down the call stack as you'd expect. We'll see the disassembly for classes that don't have debug information. If I navigate here, I can go and see code that I do have the debug information for. I can navigate back to my original breakpoint, and I can do just usual expected debugger features there. I can hover over an item there and expand this, and we can see useful information there. So if I expand the player controller, we can see useful information. We can see the rotation speed, for example, which is set there. If I tell you what, let's have a look at this. If I open that out in my expressions window, down the bottom here, we can see we've got a weapon attach point, we've got an F name, and of course then the debugger will correctly expand that. We've got a T array with 2 items in, and we can see the values that are being used in there as well. So we've got the debugger, which understands how to format the Unreal specific classes and work with those there. We can evaluate items as well. So if I do my PC dot, and you see I type in a dot there, but the code will automatically fix those up for me to use the arrow. So again, we've still got the smart editor going on there. And if I select that, we can see then that the value is set to 0 for us there. So I can do that. If I start typing here, I can go and find, there it is, health. My health is currently set to 50. I can right click, use the set value item. If I knock that down to 1, it's been updated in the code there, and I can just click resume. And that will then jump back to there, and we can see now that my player in the top there, he's showing red because his health has dropped down to 1. So it updates the values in memory and starts running again. Right, let's just stop the editor running there. And so that really brings me to the end of all the things that I want to show you with Rider for Unreal today. I hope you can see that there's a lot of functionality there, a lot of useful features which are designed to make you more productive. So please download Rider, give it a go with your project today, and let us know how you get on. Thank you for watching.
はい。いかがでしたでしょうか？今日のまとめです。セットアップのところでは、Unreal Editor のソースコードの設定のところで、ライダーを使うように設定できますよというお話をしました。次にですね、Unreal プロジェクトをライダーで初めて開いたときは、インデックス処理とかですね、あと、ライダーリンクのインストールとか、ちょっと時間かかるんですけれども、これがいろんな便利機能の下地となっていますよというお話をしました。次にですね、基本操作なんですけれども、覚えておくべきショートカットとして、シフト2回。これを押すと何でも検索できますよとか、あと、Alt Enter でですね、コードの修正とか、あとコードのナビゲーションとか、その場に応じたいろんな便利な機能を呼び出せますよというお話をしました。で、最後に、Unreal Editor 連携のところでは、ブループリントの情報を、ライダーの ID 側で、統合して一緒に表示できますよとかですね。あとは、ログ連携とか、デバッグとか、そういった話をご紹介しました。で、それ以外にも、いろんな機能があるんですけれども、こちらの情報源の方をですね、ぜひご覧ください。今回はですね、Unreal の話が中心だったんですけれども、ライダーと Unity の連携の話も知りたいという方は、ちょうど3年前ですね、CEDEC2019 の頃に、Unity に関するイベントを開催しました。で、こちらの情報がですね、ここに紹介しているブログポストの方で動画も含めて紹介しておりますので、 ぜひご参照ください。以上になります。ありがとうございました。